Hello, my Aloha tribe, and welcome to the Aloha Perspective, where you get a little bit of something and a whole lot of everything. Sorry, noticed my hair was sticking up there. All right. Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day, wherever you are. It could be early morning for you tomorrow. So, happy Monday. Yeah. All over the place. Good morning, older sibling. Okay, so I had a lot of thoughts going into today's show, and I was thinking a lot of things. And, also when I was thinking about my glasses, because my dad and I watched a Buddy Holly documentary yesterday, I was thinking I should have wore these on Muddy's birthday, because Muddy was born the day the music died. But anyways, good morning, Muddy. So yeah, these are like homage, right? Paying homage. So anyways, so as many of you know, the Olympics started this weekend. The opening ceremonies were on Friday, which I almost missed. Hello, I can't believe I almost missed. But a lot of things happening at the Olympics, especially if you're an American. First of all, not kudos, but good thoughts going out to Lindsey Vonn. So spoiler alert, because she fell on the course yesterday, so that did not look pretty. But airlifted doesn't mean you're dying. It just means you need immediate attention. But hopefully she is okay. But anyways, congratulations to all the Americans so far that have won. But that's where I'd like to go with this. I do have a speech I want to read. It was the opening speech from Kirsty Coventry, who is the International Olympic Committee's president now. And I believe she mentioned she is from Africa. But I loved her message. So I want to read this, but I'm not going to read all the other things, the welcomes, the thank yous. We know that that's a big thank you to the host country, to the volunteers, to all the people coming, the traditions of the Olympics, the feeling that an athlete has as she is a former athlete. I want to read the special parts, the parts that should really, really stand out to us. Because, my dad said something on Friday that made a lot of sense. He's all, the one thing I love about the Olympics is everybody is on the same side. Everybody, it's like everybody comes together. He's all, all the athletes come together and, they're just, they're competing. Yeah, but there's this camaraderie. And it's like, why can't other people do that? Why can't we do that outside of the Olympics? And I told him, I said, because of politics. And that's all I said. I just said, because of politics. You involve politics and all of a sudden everybody's ideologies change. However, if you are an American living in the America that we are looking at today, you will be hearing some of the athletes kind of saying that, it's difficult for them to compete under the American flag right now. And it's understandable because a lot of us do not agree with the administration and the course they're losing their own followers. And they're not just losing, they've lost half of their party already, but they're starting to lose the party that still followed them and kind of, was like, okay, we're going to worship the ground you walk on. And, you can do no wrong because you're just amazing. They're starting to open their eyes and see. And I'm not saying open their eyes like they're blind. When we have beliefs and we have ideologies, or, maybe you feel like you've been picked on by a certain group of people for so long that, you finally feel like you're in power. Sometimes we get blinded by that power. And, I'm not saying either side is right, but what I'm saying right now is that there's a lot of people, no matter what party they belong to, that do not agree with the administration and the course of action that they are taking in this country, and most notably, as of late, the streets of Minneapolis. So, when it comes to the Olympians, and, I know none of them will ever hear this message, but, be proud of the flag that you are representing, because there's a lot of us that are fighting to get this country back, and we're not going to go back to the way we were, okay, because we were still very flawed. This country turns 250 years old this year. We still have a long way to go, but we can build on what we know now. The people who were coming out into the streets and protesting that may have never done this before, that may have just, kept their face in their book and said, hey, everything's fine. If, as long as I don't look up, everything's fine. But they're coming out now and they're saying, no, we've had enough. And for all the Olympians out there that are competing under the American flag, that's what I want you to compete under. If you are feeling, torn about competing under this flag. You have earned your right to be there. You have worked very, very hard. Hunter has said it perfectly. I'm going out there and I'm competing for my family, my friends, the people who have supported me, and yes, it happens to be under the American flag, but you know what? People like us who are true patriots, who really, really believe that, we need to fight for this Constitution and bring it back to where it belongs, and to have somebody stop manipulating it or trampling all over it on a daily basis, we're cheering you on. Okay? We're the America that you are competing for. And we're the majority now. A lot of people don't think that because they'll listen to only one thing, but we are the majority now. Parties are coming together, the Republican Party, the Libertarian Party, the Democratic Party, the Independent Party, all the other parties that, by no means are any less, but smaller. Everybody's coming together and they're coming into a group and they're saying, we've had enough. We've had enough. We're standing together against this regime, against this, whatever you want to call it, this clown car in the White House. And yeah, you may not like me saying that, and that's too bad, because you know what? I've held my tongue long enough. I felt like I had to be silent long enough, and, outside of my stories on Facebook or Instagram, but not anymore. Okay? Because I love this country. I am a patriot. I'm a true patriot. I have never, I know this country is flawed. I know this country's had some problems. I know that in 2026, we should not be having the same civil rights problems we had 60 years ago and 160 years ago and before that. We should have equality across the board. People who come in here who are undocumented should have due process. That's what our Constitution says. So for all of you Olympians out there who are competing under the American flag and you are feeling a little torn and a little discouraged, and feeling like maybe the world is looking at you a little differently, we're not. Okay? You are competing for the Constitution. You are competing for what this country truly stands for. America was always great, but we could be greater. We could be better. There was no need to make us great again. There was a reason we had allies. There's a reason we had people who turned to us in their times of need. There were reasons that we could turn to other people in times of need. We may be the baby sibling in all the countries out there, all the big, big power countries out there, but we still listened. We still were there. We were still cooperative. And it didn't matter which party. Sometimes one party would do more for somebody else than another would, but usually they would come together and say, hey, you know what, we got to do what's right. And I know that since 2024's election, it has been a little sketchy. They're still screaming stolen election. It was not stolen. He even admitted it to his own people in the White House on the day that January 6th happened, that he knew he lost. And yet people are out there going, no, he didn't say that. Yeah, he did say that. There are lots of people to corroborate that he said that. This isn't about politics anymore. This is about right and wrong. And one thing the Olympics shows us is how people can come together united. Those 5 rings, if you saw the opening ceremony, those 5 rings coming together, that was fabulous. It was like the world coming together. I have seen comments from people all over the world saying, you know what, for those of you that are fighting, this, whatever this thing is in the White House, we support you. The vice president got booed, okay, not the athletes, which could be a little confusing, but when they showed the vice president on the big screen, he got booed. So for all of you people who are listening to this clown in the White House saying that, the world respects us, they don't respect us. They think we're a joke. They used to respect us, but when they don't respect our chief, our leader, they're not going to respect us. And really, I feel like calling them clowns is a disservice to clowns. And I don't like clowns. Clowns freak me out. Okay? But still, even they're better behaved. So, again, to all of our athletes out there, we support you and we're proud of you. We know you've worked hard. Any of the athletes across the board in any country, you all earned your spot there. But for our Americans specifically, we see you, we appreciate you. And for those of you that are feeling torn or not sure how you want to feel about, competing under the American flag, you're competing for the rest of us. Okay, you're competing for the people who are not mistaking patriotism for nationalism. Okay, we see you and we appreciate you and we wish you well. And I may be, stepping out of my lane here, speaking for everybody when I say we, but I think there's a lot of us who would agree. I know 2 people on here who would agree with me wholeheartedly, and, and so that's more than one, so that makes a we. But anyways, so I'm going to read you the key parts of Kirsty Coventry's speech. So it's going to sound disjointed, obviously, because I'm just reading the parts that really, really stood out to me. But actually, you know what? Because everything else. Everything else is just, the good evenings, the thank yous, the, acknowledging all the dignitaries and whatnot, and the athletes. And of course, everybody who's watching. So she says, "This is your moment. Over the next 2 weeks, you're going to give us something truly special. You'll show us what it means to be human, to dream, to overcome, to respect one another, to care for each other. You'll show us that strength isn't just about winning. It's about courage, empathy, and heart. You will not only make incredible memories, you will reach your Olympic dreams, and you will show the world how to live. This is why we all love the Olympic Games, because through you, we see the very best of ourselves. You remind us that we can be brave, that we can be kind, and that we can get back up no matter how hard we fall. Thank you for believing in the magic of the Olympic Games. When we see an athlete stumble and find the strength to rise, we're reminded that we can do the same. We can see rivals embrace at the end of a finish line. We're reminded that we can choose respect. When we see grace, courage, and friendship, we remember the kind of people we all want to be. The spirit of the Olympic Games is about so much more than sport. It is about us and what makes us human. In Africa, where I'm from, we have a word, Ubuntu. It means I am because we are. That's a great one. I am because we are. That we can only rise by lifting others, that our strength comes from caring for each other. No matter where you come from, we all know this spirit. It lives and breathes in every community. I see this spirit most clearly at the Olympic Games, where athletes from every corner of our world compete fiercely, but also respect, support, and inspire one another. They remind us that we are all connected, that our strength comes from how we treat each other, and that the best of humanity is found in courage, compassion, and kindness. So let these games be a celebration of what unites us, of everything that makes us human. This is the magic of the Olympic Games, inspiring us all to be the best that we can be together. From north to south, east to west, the flame shines as a beacon of hope for all. Tonight, that flame will ignite the cauldron. Its light will shine for you, the athletes, and from you, it will spark inspiration across the world. We cannot wait to watch you, to cheer for you, to be inspired by you, to see your courage, your strength, to see the best of humanity shine before the world. Let your flame spark hope, let it ignite joy and light the way for all of us. That was a beautiful speech. I actually missed it to start. I saw the athletes come in and totally forgot there was more, so I left. But yeah, I heard it, and then my dad said that was one of the best speeches I've heard in a very, very long time. He said very inspirational, very uniting, whatever word I'm looking for. And I love that. I love that. So I looked it up, and it was, and of course it's always delivered with that, level of passion that, you expect from someone in authority. But, I think she says a lot of this perfectly. It's you'll show us what it means to be human, to dream, to overcome, to respect one another, to care for each other. That's huge. That is huge. I mean, those words right there is what humanity should be. You'll show us what it means to be human, to dream, to overcome, to respect one another, and to care for each other. It's not that hard. When you see these people compete, and they're all kind of cheering each other on after the competition or whatever, it's because these people get to know one another on their circuits. They were talking about two skiers yesterday that were like, oh yeah, they're like great friends of Lindsey Vonn. And, they're not even from the same country, right? But because they're always competing, against each other and with each other. But, in the moments before they step out onto the course and the moments after, they're friends again. And they're friends when they're competing. The figure skaters that have to compete against each other on the same team, they're friends. They get to know each other. Well, you hope they're friends, but they get to know each other. There's a certain level of respect, even if they're not friends. There's a certain level of respect that comes with being a competitor. Older sibling knows. Older sibling competed a lot in a lot of different things. She was an equestrian. She was a hockey player. What hasn't she done? Seriously, she was training to be a figure skater, but, the call of hockey came along. Even speaking of hockey, even in hockey, right? The NHL is back in the Olympics. And a lot of these guys are going to be competing for their own countries, but they're going to be competing against some of their own teammates and their friends that they hang out with, every day when they're on the ice. This is what it means to be human. Like I said, if you didn't see the opening ceremonies, this is beautiful. I'm not sure that I've ever seen this done this way before. And if I have, I've missed it. Or if it has happened, I've missed it. But it was beautiful the way the 5 rings just came together from all different directions. Usually you see them lifting the Olympic, rings, the logo, or you see it dropping from below, but it came in from different sections. And if I were to guess that whoever planned it, it was saying, we need to unify this world. We're coming together as a group to compete for 2.5 weeks or 2 weeks, whatever it is. And I love the idea of the Olympics just because it is such a unification of different people. And we need that here, and we're finding that here. And to all the people out there who are standing in the streets and, who are, fighting back, thank you for reminding us that we're human. You don't have to agree with undocumented immigrants. Okay? You don't. That's your choice. That's that's your thing. You're allowed to think that. But here's the thing. They do have due process. I believe is it the 14th Amendment that gives them due process? Damn, I can't remember. I'm a little shaky on my history. But I know it's an amendment. They're allowed due process. Okay, they're allowed due process. And, I sit here and I think, all these people, like last night was the Super Bowl and they had Bad Bunny on. And, I know there's a lot of people saying, well, why aren't they singing in English? Well, what would you have done if it was a K-pop group? Someone singing in all Korean. Would that have bothered you? What if it was a Hawaiian singer? Would that have bothered you? Because none of those are in English. Well, barely. Unless they make the crossover into English. But Hawaiian music celebrates the culture of Hawaii. And Hawaii is a state. Puerto Rico is a territory. It's people look at it and say, well, I don't want to listen to that because I can't understand. I couldn't understand it, but I loved it. It's beautiful to see other cultures. when you're watching the Olympics and you're watching a bunch of people, standing on the podium and it may not be your country and you're listening to their national anthem? Are you going to get mad because it's not your national anthem? No. It's competition. It was 20 minutes out of people's lives and everybody had a cow over it. And I don't understand why. Like I said, the only time I ever heard of Bad Bunny was because I think he was dating a Kardashian. And I don't follow them, not in the least bit. But, somehow they always end up in my entertainment news feed. So, anyway. But yeah. We have to decide the kind of people we want to be. Do we want to spend our time complaining instead of enjoying life? I used to complain a lot. I admit it. I used to complain a lot. And then I realized, what's the point? All it does is drag me down. Complaining is like an anchor, like you're carrying a ball and chain, and it holds you back. It makes you sad. And I'm not saying that we're never going to vent. We're never going to complain. We're human. We're going to be judgy. We're going to complain. We're going to vent. That's what we do. But we need to outnumber those times with saying, why am I complaining? What is so wrong with something? I don't know anything about the Puerto Rican culture, and yet it's part of one of our territories. I think there's an America Samoa. There's also a American Guam. I don't know anything about those things. I have some cousins who are Samoan, and I used to have a family member, or former in-law, who is half Guamanian. But other than that, I don't know anything. And why don't we? There's a lot of people that I remember growing up as a kid, and I would come back from Hawaii because my parents would send me there every summer because I had family. So I would stay there, learn the culture, which we never really did. but they literally thought my grandparents lived in a grass shack on the beach. No, they lived in an apartment building that they managed on the second floor. On the second floor. Always on the second floor until my grandparents got older. Then they moved down to the first floor. But yeah, we have to be better. How many times do I need to say this? How many times do I need to stand on my soapbox? I feel like I could stand on the soapbox every day until this administration is gone, but I don't want to do that either because that's not what this show is about. The show is an Aloha Perspective, but Aloha is a welcoming term. It is a term of love. It is a term of greeting. It is a term of affection. It is saying hello, welcome, and that's what I want this to be. Despite the fact that older sibling loves when I stand on my soapbox. But we can learn a lot from the Olympics. And we can learn a lot from our own Olympians who are, I know there's people out there who are saying, well, if they don't like it, they don't have to come. It's like, you know what? You're missing the point. If you're one of those people saying, well, if you don't like it, then you can leave this country, you're missing the point. Okay? Because if you don't like what they're saying, then you can leave the country because he is entitled to his First Amendment right of free speech. 100%. It's not number one for no reason. It's number one because our founding fathers knew there would be people with different ideas, people with different religions, people with different beliefs. They knew this. That's why they created a constitution that, would embody everybody as we progressed as a country. It's not an ambiguous document. It's right there. What it is, though, is something that can stretch its legs, something that can grow, something that can be amended, something that can be added to when it's amended, something that, describes what this country was meant to be. Freedom of choice. And that doesn't mean that, so yeah, so you're probably saying, well, why am I being so judgy against the administration? Because the administration has overstepped. And when different parties start to come together, when the part of the Republican Party that never supported this president comes together with a bunch of Democrats and says, hey, maybe not in Congress, maybe not in Senate, because for some reason they seem to be afraid of this clown. But people who opposed each other in the polls, who opposed each other in the streets, are now coming together saying, we got to do something. And we got to do it fast, because this is not working out. When red turns blue and it's not even purple anymore, there's a problem. And that doesn't mean they're abandoning their parties. That doesn't mean they're leaving their parties. It means they're saying, you know what? I want him to know that his own party is voting against him. My people who are still Republicans, who are starting to turn a little more purple, that's what they're saying. They're like, no, I'm not leaving my party. I want him to know that there's people voting against him. I want people to know that he has killed our party, the party of Abraham Lincoln. And like him or not, the party of Ronald Reagan. Okay? So, let's listen to what Ms. Coventry had to say. All right? Let's remember to dream, remember to overcome, remember to respect one another, and to care for each other. All basic human acts of kindness. It's not hard. We make it hard. We put stipulations on things. We put barriers on things, and we're never gonna, unfortunately, as much as I would love to see racism and prejudice eradicated and bigotry, it's never gonna happen. As much as I would love to see misogyny eradicated, it's never gonna happen. But what we do is we stand up and we say, I've had enough. And like I said, I will say it to you again. If somebody says something to you and, they think they're trying to hurt your feelings, just shoot this back at them. When your opinion matters to me, I'll let you know. And you can say it in any way you want. You can say, well, when your opinion matters to me, I'll let you know. I mean, either way, it's sarcastic. But it also makes a point. Because his older sibling taught me a long time ago, what other people think of me is none of my business. And it's not. Because that's their problem, not my problem. If I want to walk around feeling a little more confident in my body, walking tall and saying, yeah, or making jokes like, yeah, I'm always right. Like older sibling and I this morning, I'm always right. Well, I'm always right too. Because we know we're kidding. But you can say that to other people and they'll be like, oh, well, you just think you know everything. It's like, serious much? Hello, learn to take a joke. Come on. I'll be honest with you. I may walk around confident and I may say stupid things, but inside I am the most insecure person I know. Like 100%. I'm trying to be better at that. I am definitely learning self-love, but I'm insecure in my own choices, in my own trust of myself. And I know a lot of us walk around like that. But I'm also trying to be more confident. I'm trying to embrace that self-love. So don't mistake narcissism for self-confidence. Don't mistake narcissism for self-love. I'm not telling everybody else to love me. I'm just saying I need to feel good about myself, and I'm going to. And I'm not going to put myself down to make other people feel better. And I'm not going to put myself down because I think I'm jumping ahead of the 8 ball before someone else says something bad about me, because I used to do that. None of us need to do that. But in the world that we live in right now, it feels like we have to jump in front of the 8 ball before it hits us, right? Before somebody says something. So if you're out there and you're doing whatever, or you're out there and you're speaking your mind, you're giving your First Amendment thoughts, and you know what? Because I'm going to tell you, when it comes to yelling at each other, neither side is right. You will get more flies with honey. Okay. When you're out there protesting, I get it, because you're out there with a group of people. But, if you see someone walking around with a MAGA hat and you just walk up to them and go, what the fuck is your problem? You might be the problem. All right? They have a First Amendment right to wear that hat. If it bugs you, I'm sorry. It bugs me, but I don't say anything. I just kind of look away and make a face. But that's their choice. That's their right. Just like it's your right to oppose it. But you cannot be the person that starts it and then claims, oh, well, that's because they're this. And it's like, you know what? You're just as wrong. Save it for when you're in your groups, when you're out there protesting as a group. Don't just attack someone on the street, okay? Because like I said, it is their choice, whether we like it or not. We have to be kind. We have to respect one another. There are a lot of people. I'm seeing a lot more comments on Twitter now, and I don't think they're bots, because bots usually are, opposed people that think like me. There's a lot of people from proven accounts that say like former MAGA, former Trump person. There was a guy the other day, I was listening to something on YouTube from one of the channels I follow, and this guy had called in and he said, I voted for him 3 times and this guy has done nothing but lie. And so here's the reaction from some people. But you still voted for him 3 times. What were you thinking? I can't ever forgive you. You know what? If you want to practice about protecting people and turning the other cheek, you cannot say things like that out loud. You can vent to your friends who agree with you. You can say this, that, or the other. But when someone is coming out to you and saying, hey, you know what? I may have been wrong. You are not going to draw them in by being mean to them. You are just going to push them right back, and they're going to say, well, this is why I didn't want to say anything. And I'm talking to a lot of the younger people, because they're a lot of the ones who are saying, well, fuck them. No. I know that's how it feels. I get it. Okay, I get it, because we've had to deal with this for the last year. We've had to wake up every morning exhausted, stressed, and just wondering what next, even though we know the worst thing in the world to say is what next, because that's Murphy's Law. It's just like saying, oh, hey, show me what's next. It's hard not to think these things. And so many of us are so tired and so exhausted from waking up every morning to see what else this stupid administration has done to further, regress this country. They're not making it great. They may have done some good things out there, but their bad is outnumbering any good they've done. And so when people sit there and say, on Twitter or on social media and go, well, blah, 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 we have got to be better. We have got to be better. Or we're going to lose them. This is what everybody wanted. They wanted them to wake up and turn around and say, oops. But you can't bitch slap them for doing that. If they're offering you the olive branch, don't hit them with it. Just say, look, I'm a little upset, but you know what? Okay, let's talk. Just be better. Follow the Olympic creed, okay? Be kind. Care for one another. Respect one another. I don't think it could be put any simpler or any plainer than that. Okay? We wanted people to wake up. They're waking up. And I admit there's some people that I'm just like, but I also know that I have to follow my own advice. I have to follow what I am standing on the soapbox saying. When they come around, do not hit them with the olive branch. We wanted them to wake up. So let's as much as I hate to agree that I agree with Jane Fonda, we have to welcome them with open arms. Because you know what? For someone like that gentleman who said, I voted for him 3 times and this man has done nothing but lie, that takes a lot of courage. Because that's somebody who was so intent on believing in somebody, who was so ingrained into that. And then one day they just woke up and said, oops. So let's be better. All right. Let's be kind. Let's greet the world with some aloha. All right. Some serious aloha. Welcome them back in. Welcome them to the fold and say, hey, you know what? Welcome back. All right. So I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day. I'll be back here tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, Facebook Live. All lives are public under Shella Marie Lucas. You can find me on every social media thing that I can think of. It all starts on YouTube. So if you like, you can hit like and subscribe. Be notified for all the thingies that come up. And yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I don't think there is. So Muddy, older sibling, thank you for popping on. Oh, happy Monday, Muddy. Sorry, I just saw that. Thank you both for popping on. To everybody who watches this later, thank you. Because I know I have a lot of viewers that I found out watch this later. I was like, wow, people watch this later? It's like, thank you. Because I'll get little messages from time to time. Yeah, I really like that, you know. So, anyways, I will try to come up with something different. I've got to get off my soapbox because it's starting to wear me out. But, and I'm sure it's starting to wear all of you out, hearing me complain about the same thing over and over again. But, I love this country. I know I always say I want to live in London, because I do. I do. But not because I'm trying to leave my country. I will always be an American. I will always be a proud American. And right now, I'm a disappointed American. But as far as our athletes go in Italy right now, I wish them all the luck. And I wish them to know that we are behind them, you know, regardless of how they're feeling right now. Because I think a lot of us, I think what Hunter has said really kind of hits home for a lot of us, because a lot of us love this country, but we're a little embarrassed and disappointed by it right now. And we are. A lot of us are very embarrassed and disappointed in the way this country is treating other countries, treating our allies, treating our friends, treating other people, treating our own citizens. We're embarrassed because we know the world can see this. But this isn't anything new. The world saw something very similar in the 60s. And they rallied behind us. They rallied behind the people who were fighting to bring this country back, you know, to where it needs to be, and to grow on that so that we can find a better footing in equality, in helping other people find new lives, you know, far away from somewhere where they may have started. So be kind to one another. If somebody doesn't speak your language, or maybe they speak it with a broken accent, just be kind. Be kind. Okay? So, again, have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow. Be a good human.